Anything good happening in your development these days?
Well, um, yeah, a few things. Things that I've been doing with agents lately. I've actually been using it for some development adjacent things. Using it to help iterate on a personal organization system in Obsidian, which Obsidian is very amenable to.
It's text based.
It's a folder full of Markdown. So, you've been saying that like the text-based tools are the thing now.
Yeah, because they're compatible with both us and agents.
So, as a folder full of text, it works really well. And also, it does have, there's an MCP, like a local MCP that you can enable in Obsidian and then enable that in like Claude locally or whatever.
Does
So
that give it like search or something?
yeah, like a little bit more powers than just
Right.
raw text powers.
And I
So
like
you
that
kind of use
because
both.
then Obsidian is giving us a nicer UI to text files,
Yeah,
but the AI has, well, whatever nicer interface it gets from the MCP, but also its favorite UI is text files.
yeah, yeah. So that's been working pretty well. I have my own set of organizational needs, and it has the combined collective yammering of decades of organizational nerds to kind of like if I say
Obsidian
I
does.
want to do this,
Obsidian does or the agent
no,
does?
the agent does. The large language model has the collected wisdom of all the Evernote nerds and the Organote nerds and the GTD nerds and all that stuff. And so it's if I say like I need to do this, I feel like I should be doing blah blah blah, but I'm also not sure. It has a lot. If you give it room to be opinionated, it can be like, well, the consensus for this kind of thing is you do this with your projects.
Nice. Nice.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Because a lot of this is like, I don't know what a good workflow is, but I darn sure need one.
Right. The great thing about agents is that we don't have to make the decisions that we don't want to make.
Yeah,
Like, it's great when I'm generating demo data. I'm like, I need this general shape, and I don't have to come up with
right.
the exact lengths, the exact randomness, the exact every other field like I used to when I had to type it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So,
The, then the hard part is making the decisions we do want to make and recognizing which ones we do want to make and expressing those.
yes. Speaking of which, did you read that article I sent you for Brian Lyles, the Change Records article?
Oh, not this week. No.
Yeah, not this
No.
week. Well, I think you'll find it interesting. Well, I'm trying to remember what it stands for. It's CIR, Change Something Record, Change Implementation Record. So the idea is it's kind of inspired a little bit by ADRs, Architecture Decision Records, and it's intended to fill a hole that we currently have in human agent workflows, where a lot of people are investing a lot of time in building elaborate frameworks for like specification.
Okay.
That's like there's OpenSpec and there's and a lot of tools are building workflows for building and refining your spec for the agents to implement.
Okay.
I'm not sure why this is the thing. It doesn't seem like it just seems. I mean, I understand that we have a little bit more like space for big design up front now,
Yeah.
but not that much. Like we still have to iterate with them pretty constantly and put our opinions in.
And they have useful knowledge.
Right. Exactly. That's the other thing.
It's
When you
not just about
overspecify,
us.
when you overspecify, you don't leave any room for that kind of like, drawing, summoning up the collective.
Yeah. There's so many
wisdom of
things
the internet.
that I tell it to implement something in the UI and it goes and implements something better.
Right, right.
And then I take off its stupid rounded corners and then we're both happy.
So these records, CIRs, are similar in format to ADRs. They record something at a lower level than an AD. An ADR is like we choose Redis for all of our cache
Right.
needs. And this is why. And these are the trade-offs that we considered in
And these are
making
the
that decision.
circumstances where we would consider using something else
Reconsider.
instead. Yeah.
The CIRs are intended to be much more granular, much smaller, and they basically, if you have a session with an agent where you're implementing something, And along the way, there's a significant decision, but it's not like an architecture level decision. It's a thing where you said, no, don't do it that way. Do it this way.
Okay. Something against the default.
Yeah. They give you just a template, a small template for under these circumstances. Here was what we were trying to do. Here's what we did. Here are some considered and rejected paths along the way, and here's why. And they're intended to be superseded relatively quickly. It's not like ADR where we're going to spend the next 5 years on this technology. Well, I mean, that's reasonable for
for implementing a queuing system in your infrastructure.
Yeah. But
I thought you were going to say we're going to spend the next 5 years arguing about this.
Oh
That's
God,
what
no.
the talk was for.
No, that's the ADR. It's just
Because that's also a thing.
No, CIRs are intended to fill the hole of documenting. We worked through this together, and I said no about about certain aspects.
It's capturing the part that was in our head that the agent didn't have, and as part of development, we had to get that out of our head.
Yeah.
And now we're putting it someplace where the agent can have it in the future.
And it is a format that an agent can draft for us. We need to go over it again, and like trim it down because they always over elaborate. But yeah, it seems useful. I think I might start keeping them in projects.
And just another way that we try to capture the learnings as we go along, because as we work with the agent in our development, if we are making that work continually better, continually easier, and continually more accurate, then we are succeeding. Because if we're not making it continually better and more accurate, we are accumulating a bunch of code, and that is making it continually more difficult.
Yeah. In that article, Brian also pointed out that we're kind of moving into an era where, if the same instructions repeated would get you roughly the same code,
Mm-hmm.
the instructions are increasingly becoming the record, the source of truth.
Yes, and that we should be reviewing the prompts,
Right.
and barely reviewing the code. Code should be reviewed by agents mostly. The prompt should be reviewed by us because that's the intention that we're expressing. And they're pretty decent now at implementing our intention in a lot of cases. Not my case right now.
No?
No, I'm really struggling because I'm trying to get it to do some animations on my little website, and it can't see the animation, so it can't test. It can't know that it screwed it up. It can't know that, that moved to the right, but then this other thing came down and it was supposed to fade out, and it did fade out, but it faded out after a jerk, and it can't see that. And so that's one thing I'm thinking about in the wee hours of the morning is how do we get it the information in a textual format of what is happening in this animation? I mean, yes, it can watch videos in theory. I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been skeptical of a lot of things. Lately I've started pasting screenshots in a lot more, and
Yeah, is that working?
it's surprisingly effective.
I should try seeing if it can.
Because I deal a lot with like user bug reports. Somebody emailed support. Support said, "Hey, can you capture a screenshot of it?" They supplied a screenshot, and I've been finding like with Augment, I can drop a screenshot in, and it's like, oh, I see what it did. Yeah, okay.
I guess I should try a video. I should try that in Codex too, because Claude is not as strong in the image processing as OpenAI.
Okay.
I should try that before I get super elaborate with observing the movement of objects on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
turning that
know
into
where
a-
they're at on watching videos, but I can tell you that, if you give it a screenshot, it'll identify exactly what's going on the screen. That's particularly useful when, if I don't have a good setup for having an automated browser and see what it's doing, then I can at least, if we're iterating on CSS, I can at least paste it a picture.
Oh, we can take screenshots with
If
Playwright
it's
too.
with Playwright.
Yeah.
Let's say that I have a lot of trouble setting up Playwright,
Oh.
and I've run into so many issues with Playwright. I've given up for the moment. I'm sure I'll try again on some projects, but usually I'm like, I'm going to do something with Playwright, and then I spend the next half hour trying to debug issues with connecting to something, and then I say, I'm just going to paste a screenshot.
I haven't had that at all. Maybe it's my computer.
Maybe. I mean, some of this it's a huge hassle in Dockerized development, and for my client work and my own work, I almost exclusively do Dockerized development. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible.
Damn abstraction.
It's just fragile.
Okay.
I've seen it work, and then I've seen it fail the next day.
And see, we have to get ourselves out of the loop. If we're going to let it be effective and efficient and get anything right, we have to get ourselves out of the loop. We are the blocker. As long as it has to ask us, is this right? Is this right? How does that look? What do you think of this? How does this feel?
Well,
at the end, I want that, but not in the middle.
I want to be in the loop. Yeah, I mean, I want to be out of the loop for that kind of thing.
For the iteration.
I specifically, I want to be out of the loop for I'm the only one with the eyeballs, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm really feeling that now with the animations. I'm the only one with the eyeballs, and it's a problem. How do I give it eyeballs? Just enough eyeballs, ideally. Yeah. Eyeballs precisely for what I want to test.
There's this bit in one of the Expanse novels where everybody is going blind from an alien infection, and for some reason, this one character can still see. And he is exhausted.
Oh.
Yeah, so but I do want to be in the loop for the intentional decision making. For the is this what we want?
Right.
And is this how we should?
But I don't want to be in the loop for is this what I told you I want?
Yeah. Right.
You've just been listening to Machines of Code and Grace.
I'm Jessitron.
And I'm Avdi. And this is a podcast where we have discussions about the joys and the challenges of being a full circle developer.
Because our job isn't writing code. Our job is building and improving feedback loops. Those loops include our code and our coding agents and our teams.
And operations and our users and the larger communities that we work in.
Like this one. That's why each episode, we bring you 10 minutes of discussion about what we're learning from our work right now.
But the conversation doesn't have to stop there. If you like what you just heard, why not head over to
graceful.dev/machines. Sign up for our Code and Grace newsletter.
Yeah, we'll send you some key takeaways from our recent episodes, hand-selected by humans.
That's us.
And along with that, we'll send you some news, some links to some of our favorite things.
Again, that's graceful.dev/machines. What else will they get, Avdi?
I'm glad you asked, Jessitron, because we'll also send you an extra good discount for a pro subscription to Graceful Dev.
That's where you can get access to hundreds of videos and dozens of courses for growing your programming practice.
Also, before you go, if you liked what you heard, why not subscribe to the podcast so you can join us next time on Machines of Code and Grace. See you soon.